Brother Nix has been gracious enough to this teaching or this training on indexing for us so that we all learn how to do that, especially during this period in time. Brother Nix, I'll turn the time over to you.
What our goal is today is to be sure that everyone is comfortable knowing how to start indexing. I'm going to go to the, what do you call this line, Kelly?
The address bar.
Yeah, that one. If you just sign into familysearch.org, I put in my username. This is the main screen on Family Search. You can work on your family tree. You can look for names. You can add or read memories about different people. Let's look at indexing, since that's why we're all gathered today. And we're going to come down to web indexing and click on that. I have preloaded 10 batches here. We won't be going into any of these, but these are all examples of the different kinds of indexing opportunities. First thing let's look at is the help resources. So I'm going to click on guided tour, but this is a sample or a practice batch, and it's not going to be saved no matter what we write in it. It's just for you when you do this to practice. The tab and enter keys are what you should use to navigate the different entries. Try not to use your mouse. The mouse will also work, but it kind of skips a few features if you use your mouse and click around without a tab or an enter. The first thing that you will see when you're indexing is a question: should this image be indexed? Well, what are we indexing? This is a registration card. It says we are indexing World War II draft registration cards from the state of Georgia. All righty. Is this a registration card from the state of Georgia? Yes. Okay, so this image should be indexed. We click yes and next. Now we get to fill it in. There are 3 different levels of instruction that you can use if you have questions as you go here. Where do I go for given name? Well, that might be obvious. A lot of people will open up indexing batches and just start indexing, and they miss a lot of information if they don't look at the project instructions. Whenever you're in one of these entries, there is a question mark that will show up. That question mark is your field help. And let's see what the field help says. It tells you, be careful that you get the right first name and the right surname. Don't include titles such as Mr., Mrs., Miss, Junior. Now, if there's no name or no first name, or it says something like NMN or whatever, then you're going to end up doing a control B. In other words, that information is not there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in here his given names, and please pardon my typing. See, there we go. Surname, if you're doing Spanish, for example, you might find that you really want to read the field help. It explains about surnames and how they get shared and mixed around with mothers and fathers. And this is English, so if there is no surname, push or press Control B. His last name is Miller. Sometimes it's very difficult to read. Sometimes you're into handwriting from 2 centuries ago. If that happens, if you go up to this little pen here, it will give you handwriting examples. Those are pretty hard to wade through, but you might find the answer to your prayer. You may find it here, but that is one of the resources available up at the top. If you have to use the special characters, if you're doing French, some Spanish, other languages, if you come up to international characters, you can pick out the character that you're looking for and click on it. Another thing that we have not looked at, you have field help with the question mark. The next level is the project instructions. Now, the project instructions are fairly simple for this, but as you go on down, you'll find pictures. You might have half a dozen different pictures or images And you need to figure out which one of those is the one that applies to what you see at the moment. This only has one sample image, and that's a draft card, registration card. Residence town. Where does this person live? I bet there's field help on that. For field help, type the name of the residence town. The town appears to be Savannah. The county is Chatham, and the state is Georgia. Do not correct spelling or expand abbreviations. So the residence town is Savannah. The county is Chatham. I hope I said that right. And the state is, now what do I write in here? Do I say, do not correct spelling or expand abbreviations? So what I would put in here is exactly what I see, which is GA. Now I've moved down to the date of birth information. Is that on here? Here is the date of birth, 17 July 1900. Boy, that's an old dude, isn't it? Okay, birth month, July. If you type the first part of the name of the month, it will fill that in automatically for you. Okay. Where was he born? The town or the county? Oh, it tells us when we're correct. I didn't know that. Now we're looking for the birth state or county. Okay, North Carolina. Then the next question says, do you see any more information on this image? That's a key question. On our image that we're looking at, there is only one record. But what if we're looking at a passenger manifest? Well, that might have 50 names on it. So when you look at this question, do you see any more information to index? Well, yeah, the next 49. So what you would do is you would create an entry for each additional name that you find on the image. When you completed all of that, you've exhausted all the names, in our case, 1, you click on Submit Batch. Now, it hasn't found any mistakes. For example, in the birth year, if I just put in 19 or only 3 digits because I couldn't read the 4th one, that will be an error. On the date, it's all or nothing. It's 4 numbers or nothing. All right, just for your information. On birth date, if the birth date was 7 and you enter 07, that's a mistake. We don't put leading zeros on the day of birth or any other day up through 9. So that would be, we would then enter a 7 instead of a 07. Again, looking at the resident state, we put down whatever they put down if you can read it. So we finished our sample. We're going to submit the batch. You'll get a little 4th of July show here when you submit your batch. You'll see little sparkles coming down like a birthday party or a wedding. And what would you like to do now? And your answer is, oh, that was so much fun. I want to go back and do another one. And so you select another one. We finished our sample. We've done a practice indexing. We see that there are certain helps, there are field helps, and there are project instructions that can answer questions if we have them. At this point, we have achieved the goal of this session, which is to become familiar with how to index. Let's talk about finding batches. Where did that come from? All right, I clicked on Find Batch, and I have some options here for the language. And if you know any of these other ones, great, wonderful. The church really appreciates people who can help with these. If I click French, all of the batches that will show up will be French batches that I can work on. Probably for most of us, we're going to click on English. So here's English. all English. And what level? Beginning or intermediate. There's really not much difference between the two. This is every batch available in English on the church indexing, web indexing site. I'm going to pull the slide bar down, not to read them all, but to show you that there's quite a few that you can choose from, including at the bottom, the Ukraine. I don't know if that's English or not, but it might be interesting to look at. At the top, you'll notice that a certain number of these batches are in a gray area versus the remainder that have a white background. The ones with a gray background are the ones that the church is asking special help on to get these finished. If you don't have a preference and you don't really care where you start indexing, let me just suggest that voter registration in Massachusetts is simple. The arrivals from Canada into Michigan are simple. You notice that there's 89,000 batches left to be reviewed, but almost all of them have been indexed. You see, index is grayed out on these spots. But if I find one that I really like, I can click on that star and that will show up as I'm coming over to the left and clicking on favorites. I won't have to look for those each time I want to load a batch. Now, the one I wanted to show you is this batch. This is one I pulled down, National Library of Wales, marriage bonds. This is 1564 to 1750. Wow, that is fascinating to me. Those have all been indexed. What I do is I review. In other words, I check what other people have indexed. When you index a record or an image, that will go to reviewers, at least 2 reviewers, and they will also check the indexing on that image. And if they find maybe a mistype or maybe you didn't read the instructions, which is why I want to show this example, they will make a correction. And then those 2 reviewers' comments come together and are reviewed by the next level. So there's a fairly thorough review by a number of people. And the final review is by experts in those areas and in those languages. So do your best, and the Lord will inspire the rest. I like to review because when I type, my hands get all shaky and I end up just fixing things all the time. First thing you may get is a caution. On this one, it says, sometimes you will only find a name. If all you can find is a name, index it. We jump right in and start indexing. We're pretty smart people. So we start typing marriage, 14th day of April, which by the way, y'all can make a note, is my birthday. 14th of April, 1893. On the left, 14 April, 1893. And it goes on down. We're going to have to come up to the master instructions. That's right here with the eye on it. This is the general indexing guidelines. Very important to read, especially the part that says what to index. We index anything that has a bride and a groom and some kind of a year on it. Batches may include documents from after 1754, which should not be indexed. So if it's after 1754, the project instructions say, mark it as no extractable data. Now on the bottom, you notice that there are 5 of these images. That's a lot of hard reading to slug your way through some of those. You're going to spend a lot of time on it. And then you're going to find that the reviewer says, wait a minute, that's 1893. So I go back up to where you would start with images, that's automatic, and say, should this be indexed? And the answer is no. There's no extractable data. So now I'm deleting everything that you've taken the time to do. And then I go to the next image, 1893. So again, should that be indexed? No. Now you might have spent 2 hours if you were watching kids while you were doing this. You could have saved yourself a lot of time if you read the field helps or the project instructions. I always start with the project instructions. This is sad that someone spent their time doing this because they didn't have 2 minutes to take a quick look at the instructions. Now it goes back, and this is normally where you would enter information, but there's no information to enter because none of them are extractable. I'm now submitting that batch. We might get the sparkles here. There they come. That's kind of like a party atmosphere. Of course, if you do very much indexing, you're going to have to clean off the counter underneath your screen because you got a mess there now, all those little sparkles. Okay, now once you've submitted a batch, you have an option. Do you want to do another batch like that last one? If yes, you click here. If you already have some batches downloaded and you want to do some other batches of those, this is the next one in line for you. And so now I'm back to the 9 batches that I have left that I can work on. This might be a good time. I think we've accomplished the goal of getting started with indexing and seeing where the helpful information may be. This is a wonderful exercise. I highly recommend it. And let me show you one reason why. I get these little emails that says, I found this record today that helped in my family history research. Thank you for indexing it, as it made a difference for me and my family. And this was from someone whose name is Rama in the Cook Islands, and they found the name Rua Moana Apera Sadaraka. This is one that I have indexed. And so as I look at these are from all over the world, from England, different parts of England. This tells me that the work I'm doing is important. The answer to the question, what is indexing? You probably ask yourself that. Maybe someone's asked you. Well, here's the answer. Indexing makes records searchable online. You enter information from a photocopy or a picture of some ancient document that was found in the basement of an old church in England, and you take those names and you convert them to electrons, you put them online, and then someone else is going to be able to find their grandparents, their great-grandparents. They're going to be able to work on their genealogy thanks to you. If someone has indexed some information that matches a name I've already identified as part of my family tree, it will send me an email and I can go look at that record and maybe find more information. So that's what this whole program is all about. Let's go ahead and if you know how to do it, answer questions if there's anyone left online.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you, Brother Nix, for that wonderful lesson. Does anyone have any questions for Brother Nix about indexing?
Brother Nix, anybody who gets started on indexing runs into a problem. I assume they could call you for help.
Absolutely. It would be my pleasure.
So currently, our ward is really leading the stake on indexing. I'd say between 3 of our members, Brother Nix, Sister Nix, and Brother Molter, we're doing about, what, 90% of the stakes indexing?
I can scroll down and just show you what is our goal. What is item number 6 on our Dale City Ward 2020 Temple and Family History Plan? Well, I'll tell you. It says index names, and it suggests a goal of 1,000. But I can put a indexing goal in here and say 85. All right, my target for the month is 85. All right, so here's my straight line projection to meet my target. And this is where I am right now. I should be at 46 all, and I'm at 45. I'm one short to be on target. Now down in the very bottom, Dale City Ward, it says we have, oh, that's one more than yesterday. It says we have 25 members. I know all of you have faster computers than I do. Here are the members of our ward who are shown as indexers. Some might be on missions now, some might be away at school or thinking about going back to school. There's 25 people that we have. We'd like to see 250, but that's being kind of greedy. 24,000 total have been indexed January through this point in May. Our ward has accounted for 57,000. I'm now going to select Woodbridge, Virginia stake. For the entire Woodbridge, Virginia stake, so far, there's a total of 64,000 records. Our ward had 57,000. So our 25 people have done 80% of the total stake membership of 308 people. This is not a competition though. Some documents you index are very, very easy and they go by quickly. Some you have to take a break every now and again and come back to them and see if you can read that handwriting. So some go fast, some go slow. It's not a competition, but it is a challenge that the Elders Quorum Presidency and the Ward, I believe that's the Ward Temple and Family History Plan. This is the challenge that we've been given. And now sitting here hiding from this virus, if you don't have anything else to do, spend some time indexing.
Well, yeah, thank you. Indexing is very important, and it's good to see that we're doing so many in our ward, especially with so few. We'd like to definitely increase our numbers of how many in our ward are actually indexing and achieve that 1,000 indexing goal per member. It's actually not just our quorum, it's a ward goal. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our training for today. Next week.